Many years ago, in the quiet village of Ikuduru, lived a young lady named Chinejie. She was the last child among the 8 children of her parents. Even though she lived in Oboduku, Chinejie was not originally from there. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ofor, were natives of Ikuduru. They lived there and gave birth to their 8 children there. The first 7 children were all girls, and so when Mrs. Ofor was pregnant with Chinejie, she and her husband were hopeful, praying that they get a boy this time around. But much to their shock, the baby came out being another girl. However, they noticed something strange. As the midwife cleaned the baby, her hands froze in shock when she saw that the child had 2 genitals. She looked closely and saw both male and female organs. Immediately, she called Mr. Ofor to come and witness this strange scene. Mr. Ofor's mouth opened in shock as he saw his newborn baby with 2 organs. "Mama Nungo, what is this? How is this possible? Is this a boy or a girl?" Mama Nungo shook her head in confusion. "Mr. Ofor, I am very confused here. I don't know what to call this. Since I started helping women give birth for over 40 years, this is my first time of seeing this kind of thing. It is." He looked at his wife, who was still lying weak on the bed, and then at the baby crying in Mama Nungo's arms. Immediately an idea struck him. "Mama Nungo, please, I beg you with my life, don't let a second ear find out about this. Let this be between us. I believe there is a reason for this." Mama Nungo looked at him shocked and slowly nodded her head. "I understand. I never saw anything." Mr. Ofor thanked her, and after she had left, he carried the baby close to his wife, who was fully alert by now. He explained the situation to her. "We must keep this within us. If this gets out, we can't tell what the villagers will do. We will name her Chinenye. It is God who gave her to us, and we can't question him." Mrs. Ofor nodded with tears in her eyes. She looked at the baby she had hoped would put smiles on her face, and her heart broke. Every day she would carry her baby and pray for a miracle to happen, for the female organ to disappear and for the baby to be a boy. But it was as if her prayers were blocked because as Chinenye grew, the 2 organs became more mature. However, Mr. Ofor instructed his wife to always dress Chinenye like a boy to give the impression that they had a son. They never made the mistake of allowing her to play or bathe with her siblings or other children for fear of their secret being exposed. Unknown to them, life had other plans in store. By the time Chinenye was 9 years old, her feminine traits started to dominate any sign of masculinity. Her shape was starting to get round and her breasts were forming too. Mrs. Ofor caught the signs immediately and alerted her husband about it. They decided to keep Chinenye inside the house pending when they would come up with a solution. They couldn't risk suspicions from the villagers. 1 week later, Mrs. Ofor suggested to her husband for them to take Chinenye out of Ikuduru. "We can't allow her to stay here and grow up into a woman when everyone already thinks she's a boy. People will talk. My elder sister stays alone in Obodoku. I believe if we send her to grow up there, it would be safe. No one knows about her there, so she can easily grow up to be a woman." Mr. Ofor agreed, believing it was the best thing to do at the moment, and they wasted no time in taking Chinenye to Obodoku to grow. They had to convince Chinenye and her sisters that they were taking her to learn a trade at a faraway town so that their supposed brother can learn to work hard and bring plenty of money for them. The naive children agreed, and that was how Chinenye was separated from her family at that age. In Obodoku, Chinenye's life quickly took a different turn. Her Auntie Adahoa, who had been briefed about the situation, got to work immediately and started to raise her up differently. She started by discarding all the male clothes she came with and got female clothes for Chinenye. The little Chinenye was surprised and asked her auntie why she wanted her to wear female clothes. "Auntie, but I am a boy. Why should I wear female clothes?" Auntie Adahoa smiled and explained to her, "Chinenye, you are just a child. Boys and girls are all children. You might not understand, but when you grow more you will understand. For now I want you to wear these clothes, and also don't ever mention to anyone that you are a boy. It is better not to say anything about your gender than to say you are this or that. The important thing is that you are a human being." Chinenye looked even more confused at her auntie's explanation, but she didn't say anything further. She only nodded her head. Moving on, Auntie Adahoa would teach Chinenye how to sit like a girl, how to walk, talk, and laugh. Whenever she catches Chinenye trying to do things that were physically exerting, she would immediately stop her and remind her that she was going to grow to be a lady, and so she should behave like one. Chinenye, a lady, is soft and calm. A lady doesn't go about lifting heavy things or forcing the muscles to work. Even if you have the strength to do these things, you must not do them. Ask other boys around you to help. Remember, you are not a boy. Chinenye nodded, and then she remembered something. "Auntie, there is something I want to ask. Whenever I am taking my bath, I usually notice something." Auntie Adahoa's heart skipped a beat. She had always known that this day would come, and she had prepared herself ahead to give a suitable explanation when that time comes. But now that it was getting real, Auntie Adahoa feared the outcome. Will she understand? Will she be able to safeguard the secret she had been born into? She smiled at Chinenye. Okay, what did you notice? Chinenye hesitated for a moment, trying to find the right words to express herself. It's the same thing I see in those small boys who run about naked. The same thing now. But I don't understand. If I am not a boy, why do I have boys' things? Auntie Adahoa's heart pounded heavily as she looked around before drawing closer to Chinenye. See, Chinenye, this is what I have been trying to tell you. You were born this way and we can't really explain what happened. But you have to take it the way you see it. You know you're a beautiful girl. You have breasts just like me, right? And we all have the same thing in other parts of our bodies except for this long thing down there. But that doesn't mean you're a boy. It just happened. You must not let anyone see it. You need to protect it with your life. This is why your parents brought you here, so that you can live your life freely as a woman. So please don't spoil their efforts. Remember, having that thing doesn't make you a man. Chinenye seemed lost for a moment, trying to understand all her auntie had said. That night she couldn't sleep. She was really bothered about her condition. Why am I the only one who has both boy and girl things? Abog, wait. Oh, could it be that some people also have it, but they are just covering it up? Maybe I should just do as auntie had advised. No one needs to know. I would just continue as a girl. Auntie Adacha's teachings became very frequent henceforth, and so Chinenye mastered the art of being a lady without mistake. She grew up into a very beautiful lady, with an hourglass shape and shining skin that shone no matter the time of the day. Whenever she was among other ladies, Chinenye always stood out, and that made her the prize among the young men. Different men started to approach her to be friends or even lovers, but each time Chinenye would reject them. She couldn't risk getting close to any man, as that would expose her secret. Unfortunately for her, the men were not ready to give up without a struggle. While some of them backed off after a few rejections, some were adamant and persistent. Among these men was Arinze, a young handsome businessman. He owned several shops in different locations both in and outside of Obodoku. He was based in Obodoku, and when he set his eyes on Chinenye for the first time, he was immediately enchanted. However, he was disappointed when he summoned courage to talk to her and she didn't want to give him any audience at all. He tried a few more times to no avail. He then decided to approach one of her friends to help him out. Onye, what is wrong with your friend Chinenye? I have been trying to talk to her for some time now, but she wouldn't even give me a chance to say Jack. I really need to speak to her. Can you help me? Onye laughed at him. Are you the only one in this village who doesn't know that Chinenye can't stand men? She will never, and I mean it, she will never talk to any man. So just abort your mission. Onye looked at Onye confused. She will never talk to any man. Why? If I may ask, did any man wrong her in her other world? Onye shook her head. I don't know. I have told you all I know. Besides, Chinenye is really secretive. She doesn't have a close friend, neither does she share secrets. So I'm sorry I can't help you. As Onye walked away, Onye stood confused. He couldn't just believe that Chinenye was just averse to men. Something must be definitely wrong, and he was prepared to get to the bottom of it. Since approaching the Pope wouldn't work for Onye, he decided to go to Rome itself and present his case. One evening, Onye brought some groceries and went to see Auntie Adahoa. Fortunately for him, Chinenye was not at home then. He gave Auntie Adahoa the groceries he brought for her and dived right into the reason he had come. Onye, I like Chinenye. I really like her, but I don't know what is wrong. She would not even stop to hear good morning from my mouth. Whenever she sees me, she's always running as if something is chasing her. I am really confused and intrigued too. I am not ready to give up on her. That is why I came to see you as her auntie, so you can help me. I really have good intentions for her. Auntie Adahoa looked at Arinze and tried to maintain a neutral face. I appreciate you for your good intentions. However, you know Chinenye is no longer a little girl. She's grown now and can make decisions for herself. So the best I can do is to talk to her, for her to loosen up. After all, she won't marry herself, Auntie Adahoa said, and they both laughed, even though her laughter didn't reach her belly. As Arinze left, she went in and began to pace about. Whoa, finally. How long can we keep up with this? How long will she continue running from this man? Sooner or later one would need to give in. And this Arinze I saw. This one doesn't look like he's ready to give up. Oh, Adahoa, think. What do we do? These people won't understand. They won't be merciful on her when they find out. They will judge her for what is not her fault. When Chinenye finally returned home, Auntie Adahoa called her and informed her about Arinze. Chinenye, you know you can't keep on running forever. One day you have to face your fears and get married. Chinenye looked away sadly. What do you want me to do, Auntie? How do I handle this? Any man coming to me expects that I am a complete woman. So what then happens if I open up only for him to find out and judge me? What if he doesn't understand? What if he rejects me? Chenenye couldn't hold back the tears as they poured down uncontrollably. Her auntie held her closely and consoled her. I don't know why this happened to you, but I know you will survive. This is not the end of the world. We just need to pray that you get a man who will love and accept you. The pressure from the men became so much, especially from Arinze, and Chenenye decided to give in to one just so as to get a break from the rest. She opened up to Arinze and accepted to be friends with him. Things grew gradually between them, and eventually Arinze started talking about marriage. She was scared and tried different ways to push it away, but Arinze was determined to marry her. When Chenenye informed Auntie Adahoa about Arinze's proposal, she too was shocked, but she advised Chenenye to be sure Arinze was a reliable man. You know what is at stake here. You can't take any chances at all. You need to be sure if he will stand by you through thick and thin. Is he one who will protect your secret for you, or blow the trumpet the moment he finds out? Only you can answer that question, and you need to find out before accepting to marry him. Chenenye understood her auntie perfectly. She thought of what to do and came up with a plan. She would catch him off balance and even provoke him if need be. The next time she met with Arinze, she conversed normally with him, and then suddenly out of the blues she asked, "What if we get married and I have difficulty in conceiving? What will you do?" Arinze was taken aback for a moment. "Chenenye, why would you say that? I don't dwell in negativities, but just so you know I love you deeply, and if it ever gets to that I will stand by you." Chenenye looked at him plainly and then said, "Every man wants to have children, but unfortunately some marriages are not lucky to have them. What if you discover any secret from me? How will you react? Maybe you found out it is my fault accidentally." Arinze paused for a minute. "Where are all these questions coming from? Is there something you need to tell me now?" Chenenye shook her head. "Just answer me first. How will you react?" Arinze sighed. "Well, secrets are meant to be kept secrets. I as your husband should be able to keep your secrets and protect you from outsiders." Chenenye secretly heaved a sigh of relief as Arinze said those words. She then immediately changed the conversation to a lighter one. After a deep reflection, Chenenye convinced herself that Arinze would be worth the risk. She was sure because ever since they started their relationship he had never done anything contrary to all he promised her. He had never shouted at her even when provoked. Plus, this conversation she had with him just sealed everything. She informed Auntie Adahoa, who gave her full support and sent the news across to her parents in Ikuduru. Mr. and Mrs. Ofer were surprised at the news. Their 7 daughters had all gotten married. They weren't particularly concerned about Chenenye getting married because they were more concerned about her living her life freely without fear or judgment. So the news came as a shock to them. Auntie Adahoa, however, convinced them that Arinze was trustworthy and responsible. Since Chenenye was in support of it, they gave their consent, and a date was fixed for the wedding. The wedding was held in Obodoku compound because the Ofors were not ready to explain to the people of Ikuduro how they had a last daughter, since everyone believed that their last child was a boy. The wedding was an elaborate one. Arinze made sure that there was enough to eat and drink for everybody. His efforts were not in vain as the entire village gathered to witness the grand wedding of the lucky man who finally won the hand of the most wanted lady in the village. The union was blessed, and after the celebration ended, everyone departed to their homes. Before Chenenye left with Arinze, her mother and Auntie Adahoa called her privately to have a talk with her. Chenenye was nervous and scared as she knew that in a matter of hours her secret would be out. But her 2 mother figures comforted her and encouraged her to trust her husband's maturity. Finally, Chenenye went with Arinze and his people to their house. The compound was a very large one with different houses. Arinze had built his own house separately, but they were all like a big family. Everyone retired to their houses while Arinze and Chenenye went into theirs. Chenenye excused herself to shower just so as to get off the nervousness she was feeling. When she came out, Arinze noticed her anxiety and tried to calm her down, saying they were now married and she didn't need to be afraid about anything. Chenenye nodded and took a deep breath to calm herself down. She knew she would have to face her fears either way. She wouldn't hide it forever. So the earlier the better. She told Arinze to turn off the lights before she would undress, and Arinze obliged her, assuming she was just shy. But the moment their bare bodies collided, Chenenye stiffened and Arinze recoiled in fear. For a while there was silence as Arinze was trying to understand what he had felt while Chenenye was trying to guess what was going on in his mind. Suddenly, Arinze stood up from the darkness and went to put on the light. As the light came on, what Arinze saw made his heart stop for a second. He rubbed his eyes to be clear he wasn't dreaming. "What? That? Is this? Am I dreaming? What is that? Is that a man's?" He then looked down at himself and back at Chenenye. "It is the same with my own. No, excuse me. Who are you, please? Are you a man? Are you now dumb? Will you say something and stop making me look like a fool? Chinenye quickly grabbed the nearby blanket and wrapped herself before finding her tongue. Arinze, please calm down and listen to me. Arinze nodded vigorously. I am very calm. Just start talking. Chinenye then swallowed hard and started to explain. I was born with it, but I swear I am not a man. It just appeared there. I don't know how. This is why I have always avoided men, but you were persistent and you promised me that you would understand and keep my secrets. Arinze was confused. Promise you? Wait, oh, was that why you were asking me those ambiguous questions that day? Chinenye, I didn't promise you anything. Oh, this was not part of the promise at all. If I had known that I was chasing after my fellow man all this while. Chinenye, how can I use my own money to go and marry a man? Kai, what kind of misfortune is this? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you run when I was coming for you? Chinenye, you are wicked. Oh, how can you do this to me? Chinenye sat on the bed with her head bowed low, crying uncontrollably. She didn't know what to say at this point. She had always known that her secret would not be taken calmly by any man who finds out, but she had thought that Arinze was different. She was convinced he was the one. Why didn't he understand now? Why didn't he see her pain too? Arinze, please, I didn't intend to deceive you. I just couldn't tell anyone about this because I didn't know what to expect. I am sorry that this is my reality. This is who I am. But I promise you it doesn't affect anything. I am a woman. No one has to know. I will give you children, any amount you want. Please just keep this between us. Arinze looked at her like a joke. Are you listening to yourself? You are. Who is keeping secrets? So you expect me to live for the rest of my life with something hard every night? Oh, you must be joking. This whole plan was a mistake. No, I think it was a dream. I need to wake up fast. Arinze spat out and immediately walked out of the room, leaving Chinenye shaking and sobbing silently on the bed. She couldn't sleep that night. How could she even sleep when her life was about to be cut into pieces? That is, if it had not been cut already. She spent the rest of the night praying for a miracle to happen, for Arinze to have a change of heart and make a little compromise. Arinze did not return to the room and Chinenye grew more restless. As such, before the first crow, she sneaked out of the house and returned to her auntie's house. She knocked on the door and her father, who had woken up to chew his morning stick, was shocked to see his married daughter standing at the door, looking like she had been through the wilderness. He and his wife were supposed to return to Ikaduru that day since the wedding was over, but with the sudden appearance of Chinenye now it seemed the plan would have to change. Auntie Adahoa and Chinenye's mother came out of the room to see who it was that came so early, and they were also shocked to see Chinenye standing there shaking. Her mother rushed over to her immediately. Chinenye, what is it? Come and sit down. Chinenye sat down and burst into tears. Her parents and her auntie looked at themselves puzzled until it dawned on them that maybe things didn't go as planned with Arinze. Auntie Adahoa was the first to ask. Did Arinze see it? What did he do? Chinenye just shook her head and her sobs increased. After some minutes of sobbing, she finally spoke. He said he will never marry a man. Her parents and her auntie opened their mouths wide in shock. They were speechless and could only imagine what bitter things Arinze could have said to her. The two older women took her inside and helped her relax. She took her bath and they gave her food before putting her to sleep. As soon as she slept off, they went to the kitchen to discuss. Chinenye's mother asked Auntie Adahoa, "What are we going to do now? It is all out. I am afraid the consequences will be harsh." Auntie Adaho shook her head pitifully. We all thought Arinze was a mature and understanding man. I don't think he will be able to keep his mouth shut. Oh, Chinenye should not go through the public shame. I would suggest she return back with you to Ikuduru. It's been years and people might not really remember again. I believe it will be safe for her there. Chinenye's mother nodded her head slowly and went to inform her husband, who agreed. They immediately started to pack their things, and Chinenye's things. When Chinenye woke up, they informed her that she would be leaving for Ikuduru. She accepted immediately because she knew she wanted a fresh start. She feared what would befall her when people find out about her secret. They waited for evening time when they were sure people would be indoors, and they sneaked out of the village to enter the night bus going to Ikuduru. Luckily for her, nobody recognized her as she moved freely without the need to watch her back. Just as they had suspected, Arinze couldn't keep his mouth shut. He told his brother about Chinenye's condition. His brother then told his wife, who in turn went to the market and broadcast it to everyone who cared to listen. Auntie Adahoa ignored their judgmental eyes and itching tongues which yearned for more gist. She was glad that Chinenye was no longer in Oboduku to face the shame. Chinenye lived a quiet life with her parents. She avoided anything like friendship or acquaintance and would not even greet anyone because she knew familiarity started from pleasantries. Still, she somehow managed to attract the attention of a young man who seemed to want more from her than just being an acquaintance. It had been 9 months since she returned to Ikuduru, and on this fateful day she was returning from an errand for her mother when the young man approached her. "Excuse me, I am sorry to disturb you, but I would like to have a word with you. I am Arinze, and before he could even finish, Chinenye walked away without saying a word. Arinze was shocked and embarrassed, but he smiled to console himself. Over time, Arinze would see Chinenye, but she never gave him a chance until one day when the unexpected happened. Chinenye was walking alone as usual when Arinze blocked her path. "Chinenye, how long will you keep running from your fears?" Chinenye looked at him confused, but she didn't bother asking him what he meant. Just as she was about to divert and walk away, Arinze's voice brought her to a stop. "I know about Arinze and your secret. It is a pity it had to be out like that." Chinenye froze and turned to look at Arinze. She had a lot of questions to ask him, but nothing came out of her mouth. Arinze sighed deeply. "I know you may have a lot of questions to ask, and I am ready to answer, but not here on the road. Let's go somewhere and talk." Chinenye didn't trust him to follow him anywhere, so she took him to her parents' house. They sat outside the compound and Arinze started his explanation. "I know you, Chinenye. I came to visit my friend in Obodoku a while back when I saw you, but I couldn't walk up to you because of how hostile you appeared. I tried to ask my friend to assist me to get through to you, but he too said you were not approachable. I left for my base only for me to return later and hear that you had been married to Arinze for a day. It wasn't difficult to find out why the marriage ended because Arinze told everyone you were a man." Chinenye shifted nervously and looked ashamed, but Arinze quickly said, "I didn't come here to judge you or mock you." Chinenye blinked away the tear that was about to drop from her eyes. "Then why are you here? What do you want?" Arinze looked at her with compassion and tried to touch her hands, but Chinenye removed her hands. "I believe it was divinely predestined that our paths would cross. I have loved you since the first day I saw you, and after I was told that you left Obodoku, I never thought I would see you again. Now imagine my surprise when I saw you in my village. Who would have thought we were from the same village? Please, Chinenye, don't push me away. You are not to blame for how you were born, and you deserve a happy life like every other woman. I understand why you had to hide this because most people will not understand, but I will never judge you. If you will give me a chance, I want to make you happy. I want to take away the loneliness from your heart." Chinenye was too stunned to say a word. Hot tears poured down from her eyes, and she ran into the house unable to control her emotions. She locked herself in her room for days and would only open the door in the evening to collect the food her mother brought for her. 1 week later, Arinze returned to her parents' house. He saw Mr. and Mrs. Ofor and explained everything to them. They were beyond shocked at the young man who was brave enough to want to get involved in their daughter's life. They were grateful, however, that there was someone who understood them, and they only prayed that everything goes well between him and Chineye. Arinze insisted on seeing Chineye before leaving, and Mrs. Ofor took him to Chineye's room. "I just hope she opens the door for you. She has locked herself for days now." Arinze nodded and knocked on the door, calling out Chineye's name. After a minute of silence, the door opened and Chineye's sad face appeared. She let Arinze inside, and after 2 hours of deep, serious conversation, Chineye came out smiling with Arinze. Her parents were surprised and thanked Arinze for being a rare man. Arinze wasted no time. He informed his uncles since he was an orphan, and they had a quiet wedding because that was what Chineye wanted. Arinze and Chineye moved to the city where Arinze lived, and gradually Chineye fit into the society. Even so, Arinze did not stop there. He took Chineye to a good hospital for thorough examination. It was confirmed that her female reproductive organs were functioning well, and that apart from the presence of the male sexual organ, she was undoubtedly a woman. She could decide to go for a surgical correction if she wanted, even though there were some risks involved. Chineye was relieved by the news, but she refused to go for the correction surgery. Since she could have children normally, she wouldn't want to put her life at risk. Arinze respected her decision, and they both decided to wait for 1 year before attempting to have children. By the time they were ready to become parents, they prayed for the blessing, and they were blessed. Chineye carried the pregnancy under close medical examination, and 9 months later she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Chineye became more free and relaxed, knowing that she had a good support system and a fantastic husband who had kept every one of his promises to her.